The third part of our agenda must be a commitment to 21st century infrastructure. If we want to keep up with China or Europe, we can't settle for crumbling roads and bridges, aging water and sewer pipes, faltering electricity grids that cost us billions in blackouts, repairs, travel delays. It's gotten so bad, the American Society of Civil Engineers gave our national infrastructure a D. A century ago, Teddy Roosevelt called together leaders from business and government to develop a plan for 20th century infrastructure. It falls on us to do the same in the 21st century. As president, I will launch a national infrastructure reinvestment bank that will invest $60 billion over 10 years. A bank that can leverage private investment in infrastructure improvements and create nearly 2 million new jobs. And the work will be determined by what will maximize our safety and our security and our ability to compete. We'll fund this bank as we bring the war in Iraq to a responsible close. It's time to stop spending billions of dollars a week on a blank check. It's time to stop spending billions of dollars a week on a blank check for an Iraqi government that won't spend its own oil revenue. Understand, the main source of Iraqi revenue is oil. Prices have doubled, their revenues have doubled. They need to pay more of their share in rebuilding their own country. And that will allow us the ability to strengthen transportation and to protect vulnerable targets from terrorism here at home. We can modernize our power grid, which will help conservation and spur on the development and distribution of clean energy. We can invest in rail so that cities like Detroit, Chicago, Milwaukee, St. Louis are all connected by high-speed trains and folks have an alternative to air travel. That's what we can do if we commit to rebuilding a stronger America. Now, as part of this commitment to infrastructure, we need to upgrade our digital superhighway. And when I looked at that map of the world mounted on the screen in Google, I was struck at first by the lights generated by internet searches coming from every corner of the planet. But then I was struck by the darkness. Huge chunks of Africa, parts of Asia, where the light of information has yet to shine. And then I noticed portions of the United States where the thick cords of light dissolved into a few discrete strands. It is unacceptable that here in the United States of America, the country that invented the internet, we have fallen to 15th place in the world in broadband deployment. When kids in downtown Flint or rural Iowa can't afford or access high-speed internet, that sets back America's ability to compete. So as president, I will set a simple goal. Every American should have the highest speed broadband access, no matter where you live or how much money you have. We need to connect libraries and schools and hospitals. And we'll take on special interests to unleash the power of wireless spectrum for our safety and our connectivity. A revamped education system, a bold new energy strategy, a more efficient healthcare system, renewed investment in basic research and our infrastructure. These are the pillars of a more competitive economy that will take advantage of the global marketplace's opportunities. But even as we welcome competition, we need to remember that our economic policies must be supported by strong and smart trade policies. I've said before and will say again, I believe in free trade. It can save money for consumers, it can generate business for U.S. exporters, and it can expand everybody's wealth across the globe. But unlike George Bush and John McCain, I do not think that any trade agreement is a good trade agreement. I don't think an agreement that allows South Korea to import hundreds of thousands of cars into the U.S., but continues to restrict U.S. car exports into South Korea to a few thousand is a smart deal. That's not a smart deal. We need reciprocity. That's what Governor Granholm talks about. That's what John Dingell talks about. I don't think that trade agreements without labor or environmental agreements are in our long-term interests. If we continue to let our trade policy be dictated by special interests, then American workers will continue to be undermined, and public support for robust trade will continue to erode. That might make sense to the Washington lobbyists who run Senator McCain's campaign, but it won't help our nation to compete. Allowing subsidized and unfairly traded products to flood our markets is not free trade, and it's not fair to the people of Michigan. We cannot stand by while countries manipulate currencies to promote exports, creating huge imbalances in the global economy. We cannot let foreign regulatory policies exclude American products. We cannot let enforcement of existing trade agreements take a backseat to the negotiation of new ones. Let me put it simply. We need tougher negotiators on our side of the table to strike bargains that are good not just for Wall Street, but also good for Main Street. Not just for K Street, but also good for Flint, Michigan. And when I am president, that's what we will do. Finally, let me say a word about fiscal responsibility. Now, I recognize that my agenda is ambitious, particularly in light of Bush administration fiscal policies that have run up the national debt by over $4 trillion. Entitlement spending is bound to increase as the baby boom generation retires. So we are financially pinched. There's no doubt about it. But the answer to our fiscal problems is not to continue to shortchange investments in education, energy, innovation, infrastructure, investments that are vital to our long-term growth. That's not the right way to go. Instead, we need to end the war in Iraq. We need to eliminate waste in existing government programs. We need to generate revenue by charging polluters for the greenhouse gases that they're sending into our atmosphere. We need to put an end to the reckless, special interest-driven corporate loopholes and tax cuts for the wealthy that have been the centerpiece of the Bush administration's economic policies. That's what we need to do.